Hey everybody, welcome back to the Graphic Multiverse. I'm your host Paul, joined with Robert.
Hello there.
How's it going, man?
It's going, it's the weather is It's in Massachusetts anyway. It's what I want a summer to be, It's not too hot, it's not too cold, it's not a monsoon anymore. It reminds me of summers before global warming really started to kill us all.
Yeah. I miss being a kid and liking summer. Now I kind of like when I was a kid, I couldn't wait for the summer. I dreaded the winter, and now it's reversed. I'm looking forward to the winter now, and because the summers have been, I feel like they just get hot. Like right now, I got this blue kerchief thing on. It's one of those where you wet it and it stays cool for hours.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, lifesaver. Get one, especially because you like to run.
I have one from running, or I had one. It's probably in the trash now from sweaty grossness, but.
Well,
they are pretty clutch.
It's made this summer bearable, and it's great because for me, because I have when I get my anxiety attacks, I get super nauseated, and so when I get nauseous, my body heat goes up. I start sweating. This has, I feel like, saved me from a nuclear meltdown. I mean, yeah, the meds are great, breathing techniques, meditation. This though, on the back of your neck. I'm dead serious. Like it works. Like even because apparently I learned this from moms who are pregnant. They're like, oh, if you feel nauseous, put some cold water in the back of your neck. It's supposed to help with morning sickness.
I get it.
Yeah, I don't have to worry about.
I'm
morning
hot in
sickness.
My basement right now. I wish I had one, but
so good. But yeah, I'm not. I just don't like walking outside and thinking, this was a mistake.
Yeah,
and I'm wearing next to nothing. Like short shorts and a tank top.
Yeah, eventually I've been doing just a bunch of yard work lately, and like there's like a satisfaction in being like covered in sweat from like hard work. Yeah. But there's also that added layer from the humidity. So you're just drenched, but also everything's harder, just so much harder.
See, I don't want to be covered in sweat because I'm not working hard. I shouldn't be covered in sweat because I'm breathing.
Yeah, so I walk to the train station in the morning, and then I walk from South Station to my office in the morning. And all in all, it's about 25 minutes of walking. And it's not like aggressive walking, but like when you get sweaty just casually walking to work, that's the worst.
No, I remember when I worked at the hotel in the Seaport, because I was at the mercy of 2 trains and a bus to get there. I actually during the summer made it a point to leave early so I could get there and shower and then start my shift, because there's just no way I could do that job, looking like I just crossed the Sahara to get there. It's gross. But yeah, hopefully, I don't know, we'll get the summer we all deserve. I'm glad it's not raining anymore. I used to hate that back in Massachusetts where it rains for a month and it's like it's summer.
I know. Especially because it rains for like the entire month of May or April or whatever. And then it also rained this whole July. It was,
That's bullshit. Because here's the way how I see it. You had your chance to be cloudy and rainy November, December, January, February, March, April. Now is not your time.
No.
I know. I would totally be one of those like comic book weather villains.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like that would be my main motivation. I just want things to be a little bit cooler.
You're not like Mr. Freeze. You don't want to freeze the world. You're just like, I am Mr. Autumn. I just want it to be brisk. I want the leaves to be orange. Much. I just want a coffee and a sweater.
Yeah, right. It can only be autumn or spring. Just that right temperature, cool. You're comfortable with a layer or two.
Last night, I went outside. It was like 64 degrees.
Oh my God.
And I was just like, oh my God, this is just right.
I forgot what it was like to be cold. Like when I think about winter, like, when I watch The Thing in the summer and I'm like, this is real science fiction. The white stuff they're surrounded by, you can see their breath. What's that about? But you know what's going to happen? This February, I'm going to say, I forget what it's like to be hot.
It's crazy
we get at Bernie's
quickly you forget.
Yeah.
Because that brisk walk in the morning
is
going to be a nightmare in Boston in the winter. But, you know. A little bit of suffering goes a long way.
Oh, it sure does. Hey, speaking of suffering, I hear ScarJo got a bad break.
Oh yeah,
with Black Widow. Apparently, news story came out today, July 29th, that she is suing Disney for a breach of contract for this whole streaming business.
Yeah. It's weird too, because on the surface, like you quickly read that headline and you're just like, oh, what's this all about? But luckily, it seems like the narrative has kind of shifted and it's more on her side. Because from the sound of it, her kind of payout was based around the like box office.
Right.
And since like half of the box office money, if you will, came from streaming, technically, contractually, that does not apply to her payout. So
yeah,
it sounds like Disney was kind of doing some shady, not trying to pay her what she was, you know.
Yeah. Well, and apparently it's not just Disney, because I heard, Denzel Washington was upset when they did that for his movie, The Little Things, when they released it on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark Wahlberg was upset with his movie Infinite because they did that on Paramount Plus. And I've got mixed feelings about it. Like you were saying a few minutes ago, my initial reaction when I saw that was like, listen, I'm sure the money you made off of Black Widow is money I don't think I'll have at the end of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in a time with a global pandemic, I mean, people were fighting for not to be evicted. It's like, it's hard for me to, at least in the beginning, to be sympathetic, but then a buddy kind of like broke it down to me, and I was like, all right, I guess that makes sense. I get where she's coming from, but
yeah, because it's not like nobody's getting that money.
Yeah,
it's just Disney just lying in their pockets more with that money.
Right.
I guess I know a lot of people were
she didn't make 50 million, she made 20 million. It's like, oh no.
It's like, no, it's not that. It's Disney made an extra 30 kind of by not giving it to her or however you want to phrase it. Because it kind of makes sense a little bit with like if it was more like a artistic or like a presentation thing. Like I know a bunch of people were bummed, like directors and stuff, that their movies are going straight to HBO Max just because it's like, you make Dune, you want Dune coming out on freaking IMAX screens and stuff. That. And that's like the experience you view. And and Dune is only coming out in theaters, so that's not a great case, but like there's a couple movies that came out that were like just on HBO Max because it was still pre-vaccine and stuff like that. And I would be pretty bummed. You work on this movie, you make this blockbuster, you're like, this is my chance. I can hurrah. And then
especially, can you imagine if you're like an independent art house darling, where you're like, oh, like all of my hard work is paid off, and it's like, your movie was going to be released. Now it's on HBO Max. Yeah, it's exposure. People are seeing it, but you're not getting the money that you would have gotten.
Yeah. And it's weird because like I would totally understand it. I'm just like, if I made a movie and it was like my first big movie and like, you see some kid watching on their phone. I get why the old curmudgeon-y directors are like, they get upset by that because like you want people sitting in a theater, you want to get that experience.
Because you didn't make it for a cell phone.
Exactly. I don't know, the whole stream. I personally, as a consumer of media, I love the option.
Yeah.
Like I totally forgot Suicide Squad's coming to HBO Max next week.
Oh yeah, I'm excited about that.
I was planning on going to see it in a theater just because I'm gonna be home alone for like a week and a half, and I got nothing else to do. So I'm just gonna be, tearing up half of my house and playing video games and shit. But I was like,
attaboy.
Maybe I'll just go see Suicide Squad in IMAX by myself on like a Tuesday or something.
Catch that matinee show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting though. I mean, I'm curious to see how this case will move forward and if it kind of sets a precedent for, future movie contracts,
100%.
as we march into a post-COVID, well, hopefully a post-COVID world.
Yeah. I mean, it's, even if people think it's just like a celebrity trying to make more money, I mean, this could set a precedent that would help people in way less good financial situations than Scarlett Johansson.
Oh yeah, I mean, like, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, there's a lot of people in Marvel movies that are just starting out. They're probably making a lot of money, yes, but not like Robert Downey Jr. money. Like,
right.
Maybe, like, say you work a whole year and you get paid like $150,000 or something as like an entry level actor. That's pretty cool. But I mean, you could also make that money working at, you know, freaking a bank company thing.
I wish I was making that kind of money with a bank company thing. But I get what you're saying though, especially with your foot in the door, and especially if you, I mean, because I don't know how that contract works for like screenwriters.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, like the crew, special effects artists. I mean,
yeah,
who knows?
Like Scarlett Johansson is a star. I think she is probably the biggest like actress in the world, if I had to guess. Like, I mean, Scarlett Johansson at this point. I mean,
right.
And yeah, I mean, it takes someone like that to do something like this to like lift it up for the little people. Hopefully, that's where I'm hoping. I'm hoping this helps people not get screwed over in the future because of stuff like this.
No, it's true. I mean, and if you think about, you know, some laws that have come into place because of situations like this, like, okay, like moving forward, you can no longer do like Crispin Glover with Back to the Future. I remember he didn't come back for the second one, and he sued like Universal and Robert Zemeckis because they used his likeness without him being there, without his permission. And because of that, that's like, you know, a law moving forward with movies that like you can't use somebody's likeness or the sound of their voice without. So, you know, it's
unless you're like the WWE and Vince McMahon owns the likeness of every person who's ever wrestled for him, which is wild.
Right. Yeah. Right. But
the idea of not owning your that's wild. Imagine not owning your likeness.
Yeah, that would be weird, especially with today's technology. It's like you could easily animate somebody in like from your home, like the software that's getting better and cheaper.
Apparently, I don't know if you saw, there's a documentary about Anthony Bourdain that was released recently.
I heard about it.
And I hear it's a really good documentary. I love Anthony Bourdain, so I wanted to check it out. But I guess there's parts of it where they had letters that people like wrote to him, and they used like artificial intelligence for his voice to basically recreate him reading these letters that he never read.
Holy shit.
Which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Like on the one hand, I think about how like, oh, if they do that with James Earl Jones, he'll be playing Darth Vader forever, no matter how many movies and shows they crank out. But I mean, if you signed a contract to be okay with it, then cool. But like, that's crazy that's where we're at.
Yeah.
That level of technology. That is wild, to say the least. But speaking of, you know, I guess the quality of production and voice work and animation, I'm really excited about tonight's main topic, which is we're diving into the recent release of Batman: The Long Halloween, based off of the graphic novel, the limited series from Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale. One thing I wanted to ask you right off the bat, what do you think of this style of animation that DC is using? Because this is their like third or fourth movie with this kind of Archer style.
I was going to say Archer was the first thing that jumped out to me as far as like the art style. Obviously, Archer with some like... wow, my brain just turned off. Who was the... You said Tim Sale, and now that's the only name that's coming into my head.
Oh, Jeff Loeb? Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale?
Who was like the lead creative on the Batman animated series?
Oh, Bruce Timm.
Bruce Timm. Okay, yeah. Tim Sale, Bruce Timm. My brain's like, what is happening here? A little bit of that flavor sprinkled over Archer, but
yeah.
The art style... I didn't mind it. At sometimes it could seem kind of stiff, but there is certain scenes where there's action and it still is, it's animated with like more frames and stuff, and it still feels good.
Yeah.
Not a ton of action in this, but there is like the one scene, like the most like hand-to-hand action scene is probably Batman and Catwoman scuffling with those gangsters in that alley.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. It felt visceral and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a style. You got the really thick outlines around all the characters. Very, I don't know. Overall, I think it felt like Batman. Like Gotham, I thought was animated really cool. Still with that Art Deco style and the weird mix of like modern and like 50s cars and stuff like that
with iPhones.
Exactly. It's like that's what I have always loved about the like animated Gotham City. It's that it's like the future, but it's also the 50s, and it's like I'm into it.
It's the future. It's what we thought the future would look like in the 40s. Like if you went to a 1940s World Fair, like this is what the 60s would look like.
Super Art Deco and cool, and that's like the style of Batman, like visually, that I love, and I thought this captured that pretty well.
Yeah, I go back and forth on the animation because there are certain scenes where I'm like, oh, like it's really fluid, you know, and I think it looks good, and even some of like the facial expressions, and then sometimes I don't know, I kind of become aware that like is this like it's almost
it doesn't have the same like organic quality of a hand-drawn animated thing,
right? Yeah, it almost kind of feels
if they
like
don't move, you can tell it's just like
software.
It's a non-moving piece of software. Like you can almost visualize the like animator hasn't hit like move.
Yeah, that's what it feels like sometimes, that it's that it's almost like early like CGI Pixar kind of like super in the beginning, but it's one thing. So here's what I like and dislike about this kind of animation thing. On the one hand, you know, with DC's new line of animated movies, they all share this animation style, which is fine if you're building an animated universe, and no matter what character you're focusing on, it has that consistency visually. But I think if you're doing something standalone like The Long Halloween, like I think it's okay to like maybe like just take a break from that style, like the way they did The Dark Knight Returns. Like I love that they tried to really honor Frank Miller's art. I mean, I don't know how you would do Tim Sale's art, because while Tim Sale's art I think is beautiful, like I don't know how well some of that would translate.
Yeah, animated. I would love to see someone try.
Yeah,
like, I'm sure you could do it, but I don't know. It'd be interesting, because it'd be like a moving like. Yeah, I don't know. They would have to take some. I don't know. Yeah, looking at pictures now, I'm just like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, because it's, I don't know. I think it's still undecided. It's not bad. Like that's the one thing I want to say. Like I'm not trying to hate on it. I think I'm just kind of like, I don't know how to really feel about this. But
I mean, the art like there was times where I'm like, this feels kind of stiff, and I think if there was more of that like organic quality you get from a hand-drawn thing, because there's always a little bit of movement just from the imperfections of the art form.
Yeah. You know, I think what always kind of threw me off was the way Gilda looked, Gilda Dent.
Yes, like very robotic. I have a lot of problems with that character in general.
Yeah.
They use her.
Yeah. But she looks like she's like a cross between like a
crash test dummy and
yeah, crash test dummy, like an anime character. Like I feel like she came from Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah, or like what's the android from Blade Runner?
Rachel.
She looks like Rachel from Blade Runner, but an anime and a crash test dummy.
Yeah. I think, you know, just looking at the pictures now, if this was like a comic book, it would be really cool. Like, I guess just looking at the still images, like, oh, I could totally kind of buy this being like a, you know, a really cool.
It has like the like color and like the inking style of like a mid 2000s like IDW comic.
Yeah. It really does. I wanted to talk a little bit about the cast too, because I actually think this is actually pretty good cast that they put together. First of all, you have Jensen Ackles, who is in fucking Supernatural. He's one of the brothers with the short spiky hair. He plays Batman, which I didn't know until after I saw the first one, and I was like, wow, I think he's actually pretty good Batman. Yeah, Batman early in his career.
I didn't really look up any of the voices until just at the end when the credits were rolling. I was like, oh, look at that. But yeah, I agree. I think everybody here did a really good job. voice acting wise.
Yeah. And I love that they have David, I'm gonna butcher this kid's name, I'm so sorry. David Malchin. He was in The Dark Knight. He was the schizophrenic that he was interviewing in the alley. And he's playing the polka dot dude in Suicide Squad. He's in Ant-Man as the Russian dude with the pompadour. I thought he was a cool calendar man. Jack Quaid from The Boys.
Troy Baker was the Joker, and Troy Baker's a really kind of prolific video game voiceover actor.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
And I thought, honestly, when I was listening to that, I'm like, if this isn't Mark Hamill, whoever's doing this is doing a great Mark Hamill Joker.
Yes. Yeah. If anything happens to Mark Hamill, Troy Baker can carry on the Joker torch.
And I don't think he took many like liberties really trying to stand apart in his Joker. But I mean, if this is his first go at playing Joker, I guess he can prove to anybody who doubted him. He's like, don't worry. Like, worst case, I'm this kind of Joker. Don't worry.
Yeah, and who knows? They probably told him, like, listen, just do what Mark did. Mark was scheduling conflict. Just don't try to make it. I mean, who knows? Who knows how that direction was? And I like that they had Titus Welliver in this as Carmine Falcone. He's oh god, he's been in a ton of movies.
He's a guy that you recognize from everything. That's how I describe it. He's like a character actor that's just in everything.
He was in The Town, Argo, but he's also in this great Amazon series called Bosch. If you like detective stuff, he's also in an episode of The Mandalorian. I mean, he's got quite the resume. But he's also a huge nerd because I saw that he was doing a video for Sideshow Collectibles. And it's so funny because he's from Connecticut, but he's a total New Englander. Like, like he's got the accent. He was wearing like a Red Sox t-shirt and he's like, just like showing off his like comic book collection. I'm like, this is cool because I would have pegged this guy to be a nerd. Closeted nerds. I like undercover nerds. Like those are just gems to find. Because he looks like he would be somebody that my dad would drink with, and he's like, that he's like a huge comic nerd. It's like, yes. But yeah, and you got Billy Burke as Commissioner Gordon, and I know him as the dad from the Twilight movies, but he was really good in this too.
Yeah, and then
he probably could play a good Jim Gordon in a live action movie too. I think he's got that.
Yeah, he totally could.
That haggard, crazy clowns are beating me down, messing with my city look.
Yeah, and we were talking before we started recording. Naya Rivera played Catwoman.
That blew me away. When you had mentioned before we started recording that she had passed last summer, like I remember hearing that story, but for some reason I just didn't put two and two together that this was her. It's crazy.
Yeah, I thought she did a great job. I liked, like, I mean, this is more like just the Long Halloween being a great story to turn into like an animated movie, but like, I just thought her characteristic, like, I thought it was a great Selena Kyle. I thought like the relationship with her and Batman, I thought was great. All in all, it just made me want to go back and read Long Halloween as far as the movie goes, even though I've only seen part 1. You've seen part 2 as well.
Yep.
And you were saying like, it gets kind of long. It's kind of lame. They don't, just do it all in one. And I think 100%. So what was it? Part 1's like an hour 20-ish.
Yeah, somewhere about
they could
that.
Totally,
standard movie length.
Totally could have cut 20 minutes out of it. And
yeah, just
smashed it together with part 2, make it like a 2-hour something movie. And
yeah, I think it's weird the stuff that they did cut out. But I was going to say one last thing about the cast was just Josh
Duhamel.
Yeah, he was a good Harvey Dent, and he's a great. He does Two-Face too in the second part, and it's really good. Like it's he almost sounds like the Two-Face from the animated series.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was really cool. The Long Halloween is. I don't think people realize how even though it came out like 2000, 2001. So it's about, over 20 years old now. But I think it's pretty influential to the Batman just mythos, because one thing I didn't realize, like I kind of forgotten about, was how much Chris Nolan and David Goyer took from this.
When I was watching that, I'm like, this is Christopher Nolan's Batman in animated form. Like this is
like when they and even when I flipped through the comic afterwards, like the scene of Gordon, Dent, and Batman on the rooftop.
97. This was even older than that.
Wow. Oh, maybe I was thinking of Dark Victory. I think Dark Victory was one. I think I bought that in issues, and this is a trade. But yeah, I mean, when you look at the scenes of Dent, Gordon, and Batman on the rooftop, it's like Nolan had been reading this, being like, I want to film this. I want to film this interaction.
That also, it's, even though it has the Joker and stuff like that, like this is very much like the gangsters, which the Nolan movies really focused on, like the exact same gangsters.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's, hold on. Sorry, I just got a file error from my Audacity. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Sorry, it literally just crapped out on me. Sorry.
It's fine. We got the backup. We can keep rolling.
Okay. But yeah, I mean, I definitely always liked the premise of like that the gangsters were desperate. They were willing to do anything to get Batman out of their hair, and it opened up Pandora's box of nightmares for the city and the gangsters themselves. So yeah, I did like that, and I've always been a fan of like Batman taking out, or Batman versus gangsters, the mafia.
I always liked kind of the more grounded detective-y ones, and I like how this is like set kind of early in Batman's career. In the first part alone, several times people are like, man, you got to get better at being a detective.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like, I don't know, the vibe is great. I love the seasonality of this story, and how like just from going from holiday to holiday is really cool.
Yeah, no, it's great. And there were little touches in there that I like that they did keep, like when Batman leaves a Thanksgiving plate for Solomon Grundy. And I was thankful. So I was a little nervous after, or before the second part came out, because the last two DC animated movies, they drastically changed the ending of the source material. Like Gotham by Gaslight was good, but they changed who the killer was and that for the movie, which I was actually okay with. But when they did Hush, I was so looking forward to Hush because I loved Hush when it came out. And they did not a full 180, but they went with an entirely different character. And I was kind of like, well, because the story of Hush was, it was, Batman's childhood friend, who would, become Hush. And they didn't go with, was it Tom Elliott, I think was his name. They like made it the Riddler. And it's like, why? What was the point? Like, I get that you want to like, oh, we want to keep the people who like read the books, catch them by surprise. Don't do that. Like, if I wanted the story, I'll read the book. Like, I want to, so I'll say for for a Long Halloween ending, pretty satisfying because it for the most part stays close to the ending. I don't know how spoilery you want me to get with the second part, but
I think we can get spoilery. I didn't watch it, and yeah, but you said it made you like the first part better, so I'm gonna go around and watch it. I'm not gonna run out to watch it because it just came out, so it's kind of hard to find it renting for cheap.
Yeah, but, yeah, I had pre-ordered it and like had forgotten about it, so I was like, oh, your movie's ready. It's like, oh, okay, oh, here we go. Yeah, I mean, they it's still like a Gilda Harvey Dent production, but. And I don't think this was in the original. I gotta reread it. So yeah, so Gilda, she still kind of has the scene by the furnace where she's burning all the evidence and she's kind of explaining what happened. So the dude that died on the boat on New Year's,
Alberto, is that his name?
Yeah, she dated him in college, and she was pregnant but the mafia, Carmine Falcone, forbade him to marry her and have a child out of wedlock. And she alludes to, and again, I don't remember this in the book. I gotta check, but they allude to the fact that they very forcibly aborted her baby to the point where she can't have babies again. And so her hooking up with Harvey was a whole like revenge thing. But then like she did fall in love with Harvey. And the weird thing is that she's explaining all of this to Batman in the basement. And he doesn't take her in. And I kind of don't get it. I feel like Batman would be like, that sucks that happened to you, but you still broke the law.
Yeah, that's the Batman I know.
I'm taking you downtown. Instead, she's like, are you going to take me in? And he doesn't say anything. He like, he fucking walks up the stairs out of her basement. It was just like, okay.
Yeah, I forget if that thing is part of the book, but that was kind of the part of like, so part one, Gilda just acts weird and constantly says she can't have babies. And that's like her whole character in part one.
Yeah.
And for me, that was just like, I was like, why is this here? Like, and if that is like, I feel like, I don't know, having like, aren't we over the like the woman can't have kids, so she's now like a villain thing? Like,
I fucking hate that shit. I was like, Age of
Ultron.
Ultron.
Over this? Yeah, like, and if that wasn't in the book and they like added that to the movie, it's like, why? I feel like if they were to change it, I feel like they totally could still have Gilda as the killer, like just add a little bit, like there's so many other things, like even just her being neglected by the dude she loves, and then she's a little deranged. You could do stuff. It doesn't have to be the fertility based like that.
Right.
To me seems like such like an overdone, and like
DC doesn't know how to expand female characters. I mean, look at fucking Killing Joke.
Yeah.
That still makes me angry. But I have it here. The scene. So she's like, Harvey, I did what needed to be done. Do you remember you promised we would finally be together, that when you didn't have to work so much? I read your case files about taking serial numbers off of guns and how a baby nipple would muffle the sound, and clues are left at murder scenes. And I thought that if I did that, Batman would think it was someone extraordinary and not me. Not me. I used your hat and coat for a disguise and left those things at the killings. Johnny Vitti was the first, then again on Thanksgiving, I left the hospital while you slept, and again on Christmas. But then Alberto Falcone was shot on New Year's, and you came home late that night. Your hair was wet, even though you were wearing a hat. I found the gun in the basement. You told me it was evidence, but I knew you had the same idea as me. You picked up where I left off so we could have time together, a child, a secret. Let them think it was Alberto. No one will ever find out because they didn't have you to help. You are my Apollo. You can do no wrong. I believe in Harvey Dent. Nothing about, oh, I fucked Alberto in college and the mafia wouldn't take me in, so they took the baby and like it.
I feel like, yeah, that again, maybe that backstory is in the book. I haven't read in a long time. We're both not super caught up on the book, but still, I think just that last line, that's so good. That's such a good, tight bit of little storytelling right there. And like,
and it's a great bookend because the start is Bruce saying, I believe in Gotham City.
Mm-hmm.
And then that last page, it's, it's just a nice bookend. Sorry, the absolutes are a little, but yeah, so the ending there when she says, I believe in Harvey Dent, like it's almost the same. Like
Mm-hmm.
I live for shit like that, where it's like, the same shot, the opening is the same as the closing. And honestly, like I remember when I read that, I don't know, 14, 15, that blew me away because I just didn't, like Harvey Dent made sense, her being in on it. And why couldn't she be like any of these fuckers in Gotham where she's just like a little unhinged?
Exactly. Like, and just, okay, so it's a mob revenge story. They could have like beat the shit out of her when she was in college. Like, I feel like tying like a woman's identity and stuff to like pregnancy and stuff like that, like
and abuse and
exactly,
like
it's like it's so gross and overdone at this point, and it's like
it's a weird like reverse refrigerator's girlfriend, or sorry, it's girl in the refrigerator.
Yeah, fridging or whatever. It's
right.
It's in the same. It's like if there's like a shelf of shitty, like not developed women characters that are just there to serve, like as plot, like it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But like it's a cool twist because like watching part one, like I kind of forgot the twist, and then I was like, what is it again? And then I just like looked it up because I was like, I've read it. I'm not spoiling this shit. But
yeah.
like they do build it up. Like you think it's Harvey Dent. Like when you're watching it and you're not sure that it's Gilda, you're like, oh yeah, Harvey Dent. That's obvious. Like,
yeah.
So then like when they do the twist, like the pull the mask off, you're just like, oh, ooh.
Right.
It's cool.
Yeah. This, yeah. And also, I don't know.
Because Harvey Dent in the is like, you believe it's Harvey Dent doing this, and he's just driven by like frustration, like mostly like
right. And the fact that he knows, like, it's kind of one of those ends justify the means. Like he's just not doing it to willy-nilly to be a murderer. He's like, you know,
like,
and
it's for justice. It's like
right. And it makes him actually, I think, more interesting because this is somebody who believes in the law, wants to uphold the law. You know, and that's why I love the bit both in the comic and in the book where Gordon's like, you betrayed everything you believed in, you know, and it's like, you know, like, but it's like, but Dent's like, well, I did it so that the system could work. Like I pulled the monkey wrench out of the gears, you know, like it can work now because nobody's protecting these people. You know, there's nobody here to, you know, bend or break the rules because I took them off the table.
And that stuff is so Dark Knight, like the movie, the Nolan movie. Like there's the Harvey Dent stuff. It's just like it is so much of that movie is from this movie.
Oh yeah,
or from this book.
Yeah. No, there is no doubt that you know him and David S. Goyer that there were a lot of bookmarks in The Long Halloween, and because you know what's funny too, and maybe this is just me, but I feel like even when you know it's Dent, like you still like him, and I think that is so crucial to the Harvey Dent story is that, you know, if you don't like him, you don't feel the heartbreak when he falls from grace.
And I feel like this is like what sets Batman apart from a lot of stuff is just because like the Batman's rogue gallery, it's like notorious, it's like known for being great.
Yeah.
Just as on like a design standpoint, but also like you feel for a lot of these villains. Like they knew how to make a rogues gallery that you like understood the motivations for everybody. Like even the Joker, who is literally just chaos for the sake of chaos. Like, I don't know, you still like, you don't understand the Joker, but it's like, that's who he is. Like like in this movie, or he's like frustrated that somebody else is doing this shit.
Yeah.
And he's like driven by, he's just like, no, I'm the homicidal lunatic.
That's my thing.
That's my thing. So stop fucking with me.
Yeah. Well, you know, and even depending on which Joker story you look at, I mean, you know, if you look at the Killing Joke trade, I mean, I feel like you can kind of get I don't want to say get behind, but I mean, like, you get it that these events led him to become who he is.
Yeah.
If that is in fact the actual, you know, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I was looking forward to The Long Halloween because it's definitely one of my favorite Batman stories, and I think for the most part it does a good job of bringing it to life. I think.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It made me wish it was fall, like we were discussing.
Yeah. I wish, again, just a different animation style. Like one thing I really appreciate about the Tim Sale art is that his art's kind of spooky. Like there's something, it's kind of like Tim Burton, I think, where it's really cool looking, but everything just seems off.
Yeah,
like
and
there's
just
something
like the way they're colored and stuff. There's like a little bit of like Mike Mignola style in there. Because it's not like photorealistic at all. It's very much capturing a vibe.
Oh yeah. And I feel like you definitely get
but it's like classic comics look, very stylized, very like, I don't know. I love Tim Sale's art. I'm always super excited to see his stuff, but
yeah.
they definitely weren't going for like the Tim Sale look in this for sure. Very
No.
much the new house style of the animation stuff, but
yeah,
like,
and there was
it's just weird because like when you look at stills of it, it looks, I like the stills of it.
That's what I was saying. Like the stills, if that was in a comic book, I'd be okay. But
and when they are doing the action and stuff, I think it's well done. But yeah, like a lot of the dialogue scenes felt like you were just like watching a page of a comic book that never changes to the next panel. You're just like looking at one panel for a very long time.
Right.
No, one of my favorite parts of this whole thing was just like the Batman and Catwoman kind of back and forth. I thought that relationship was shown really well. I liked how they played off each other as both Bruce Wayne and as Batman. I thought I like Alfred in this.
Yeah. Yeah, they one thing I do like in the second part that they did was they really kind of talked about the Thomas Wayne's connection to the Carmine Falcone family.
Yep.
And him kind of Bruce kind of struggling with like, were my parents good people? Like, what were they doing with these guys? You know, and Batman was saying how, you know, I thought I was becoming Batman to honor them, but I feel like I'm becoming Batman to redeem them. And I thought that was kind of cool. It was I thought it was kind of like a nice play on, you know, I do.
And it's a different look at kind of the origin story.
Yeah.
Without like altering it drastically, just a different way to look at it.
Yeah. We of course did get a Thomas and Martha Wayne murder reenactment because you just can't have a Batman story without pearls and gunshots in an alley.
You got to remember his parents were shot dead. If you don't remember,
I would, God.
Remember the first full Spider-Man movie in the MCU, and we didn't have to see Uncle Ben die? Wasn't that? Remember how nice that was?
It was. I mean, we all knew, you know, and I even like how he alluded to it in Civil War. You know, if you have the ability to do something and you don't, and then bad things happen, you know, like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, or I would be okay even like him talking about his parents, but it's like if I see another shot of pearls, yeah, dropping in a pool of water and blood in an alley and a kid on his knees screaming, it's like I think just because there have been so many Batman everything really, right? I mean, you got like the movies and comics and TV shows where I feel like I think we have enough of that where
we have. I mean, discounting the 60s thing, say we're starting with Tim Burton's Batman. We have 30 plus years of a pretty non-stop stream of Batman content in all mediums.
Yeah, it's true. And actually, you know, one thing I really picked up on in part 2 was the Tim Burton influence. Like, in one of Carmine's offices, it's almost like a reproduction of the office where Jack Nicholson kills his boss, like the crime boss leader. Like, it's almost like a perfect reimagining of that set. And even like some of the shots of the Gotham City skyline look like the skyline in the opening of the Tim Burton '89 Batman, which I thought was really cool. But yeah, I guess, I mean, I definitely would like to watch it again, like 1 and 2 together. I think to kind of give like a full verdict.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't hate it, and I'm not mad that I own it because like I said, I pre-ordered this thing and kind of forgotten about it because I think I will I will definitely watch it again. I just don't know what kind of grade to give it.
Yeah, I mean, part one, it does kind of conclude like an arc. It felt like the end of a season of a TV. Like it's the mystery is still out there, but like at least something was resolved. Like,
yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. Part one, I think, knowing part two is out there, I can say like, yeah, probably watch part one and part two together. And then like we were saying, this should have just been 1 2-hour movie, because they definitely could have sped up the process a little bit. Like there's fat to trim off of this for sure.
Well, and there's a lot that they cut out from the comic.
One thing I got to bring it up that bugged me, and it happened twice in the movie, where Jim Gordon says like Occam's razor, and then Batman then verbalizes the meaning of Occam's razor. He's like, yes, the most obvious solution is always the solution. Like, it's like he just said, you just repeated the same thing twice. I get it. Yeah, maybe people don't know what Occam's razor means, but like maybe someone would learn something by Googling it. And then later, somebody says Occam's razor, and he says the definition again. It's like,
like, dude, stop. Okay,
the Wikipedia. First time I heard somebody say Occam's razor, I was like, what's that? And I Googled Occam's razor, and they're like, yeah.
Yeah, and then they just kind of beat you over the head with it. I remember a buddy of mine.
That's 15 seconds you could have cut out.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when Dark Knight came out, and buddy was like, mine was like, I can't believe like, what was it? Maggie Gyllenhaal had to explain like what a RICO case is. You know, it's like, well, dude, because nobody knows what the fuck that is. So like somebody had to tell it, because I wouldn't have known. You know. But they cut. There is some stuff that they cut from the book that I actually was kind of looking forward to see, because at one point Bruce Wayne's a suspect, and you know, there's this whole bit where they find him at his dad's tombstone, and you know, I mean, they kind of sort of hint at it in the second part. Like Dent and Gordon go to see Bruce, but it's not like a.
Mm-hmm.
Although Alfred is gonna have a badass moment where. You know, that, you know, I think Dent or Gordon says something like, hey, you know, we're just trying to do our job. And he's like, oh, like the way you did Martha and Thomas Wayne's murders? Because last time I checked, that shit was still unsolved. It was like, ooh, Alfred is serving the tea.
Yeah, I liked Alfred in this a lot. I like this.
Yeah. Listen, if I don't like the Alfred, there's something fundamentally wrong with your Batman story.
Exactly. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
One last thing I would say, though, like in part one, I think Gilda, they just needed to do a little bit more other than just having her sulk quietly in part one. Like the only
I'm Harvey's wife.
So like there's sad.
I can't have kids.
There's the part.
And also, where, I'm sad. I'm a woman.
There's the part where they get the flowers sent to Harvey Dent's like hospital bed, and they're to her.
Yeah.
And then she leaves, but like not knowing that, like she plays that off as just like she's frustrated that Harvey is he's just so involved in the like mobsters. Like they didn't play that scene like there was something more there. Like I feel like there needed to be a little bit more to show that she's unhinged or something, like just a little bit. Because even looking back, knowing the ending to the story, it's just like you need to give people a little bit more, because she just comes off as just like, oh, she's the sad wife of the cop who works too much.
Right.
And then you have the juxtaposition of like Gordon's wife, who's like the happy wife of the cop who works too much.
I would have
sad daughter.
Yeah, I wish they could strike a middle ground where, I don't know, make her like fucking Ted Bundy, you know, like somebody who's like super sociable, super charismatic, and is a fucking nutcase when no one's looking, you know, instead of being like, I'm sad, and when I do something odd, it won't come as too much of a surprise that I did it out of sadness. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. I just think it just could have been handled a number of different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Then they took my baby and my baby making skills away from me, and that's all I am. They took my purpose, my identity. It's like, okay, like, yeah. I mean, I'm just kind of repeating what you're saying. Just that it's just crummy. It was like I was really enjoying the second part up until then, and I'm like, you guys, you could have stuck the landing with this, and then you didn't. But still not as bad as The Killing Joke or some of the dialogue and other Batman stuff where like, God, I forget what Batman movie was. Maybe it was Bad Blood, but the way Nightwing is talking to his girlfriend over the phone, you'd think these nerds had never talked to a woman before. Like, rough. Like, listen, you want me to believe in Ra's al Ghul coming back from the dead? I can believe that before believing this dialogue because it is trash.
But yeah, that's some of the dialogue is pretty rough in this, but it's whatever. It is what it is. There's bad dialogue and everything. That wasn't what took it out for me the most. It was mostly just like the characterization of Gilda in part 1. I haven't seen part 2 yet, but yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of fun to revisit and kind of get your 2 cents on it.
I definitely want to watch part 2 in like soon-ish, probably before we record another episode, just so it's fresh on my mind.
Yeah, if you can't, because actually, maybe I'll do that tonight. Maybe I'll just rewatch part 1 and 2, because, like I said, because I didn't hate it, and I liked it. I just don't know to the extent of my like, but I think the biggest thing for me is just the animation.
Mm-hmm. And because especially when you like watch something like Mask of the Phantasm or something, you're just like, oh, man,
no one took some cues from that too.
I watched Mask of the Phantasm. I think it was like this year.
I think it's still the best Batman movie of all of the Batmans. Like, yeah, but yeah, even that kind of has the same like Mafia turned to somebody unstable to take out the Batman.
Mm-hmm.
But there's something that I just really miss about hand-drawn animation.
Yeah.
Because some of it, don't get me wrong, some hand-drawn animation obviously hasn't aged well. But I think I would even prefer the hand-drawn animation that hasn't aged well to this like perfect digital animation where like, it looks good, but I feel like, I don't know, like I felt like sometimes they couldn't emote like with their face or even with the voice acting, or sometimes I kind of felt like there was a disconnect. Like, this guy sounds angry, he doesn't look angry, or you know what I mean? Like, there was just something that wasn't.
Yeah, and I'm hoping as like technology progresses, like there is a way to, like, I understand nobody does hand-drawn animation because it's incredibly labor intensive, expensive.
It takes so long.
It's hard. It takes forever. A lot of the people who like specialize in that are kind of aging out of the business, unfortunately, and stuff like that. But like, I just hope that visual like look doesn't go away, because like CG movies in general, I feel like they're finally getting to a point where they're kind of changing the style. It's not just like Pixar trying to get more and more realistic and then being Pixar-ish. Like, I feel like Luca, the newest Pixar movie, like did a really good job kind of taking a more cartoony style and like kind of taking more liberties with like the look. And I feel like I've seen some computer animated stuff that looks more hand-drawn, and I just hope that art form doesn't go away.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's almost like, have you seen the previews for What If?
Yes.
I feel like What If kind of has that same animation feel that Long Halloween does, where it's like, I'm sure the designs were hand drawn and it was all like computer.
It's all like rotoscoped, I think, is the technical, like, initially like rotoscoping is like when people would like paint over a film thing and like make it that look, but or cell shaded in the video game world, it's where they like basically draw over the polygons to make it look hand drawn. But yeah, it's just this year I remember watching Akira and just being like blown away at just the craftsmanship and just the fluidity of the animation, just the detail, and just like hearing about like the painstaking like process that was, and then watching something like Princess Mononoke and just being like, oh god, these are so beautiful.
Oh my god, yeah. That reminds me.
And then watching like just the Disney classics, like
oh my god, you look at Snow White.
It's amazing, like
unbelievable. I think even the Disney stuff now, you know, because they're Disney and they got the Disney money, it's kind of leaps and bounds. But even like you look at Toy Story, I mean, like Toy Story, you watch it now and it looks a little dated.
Oh, it looks very dated. So I've been trying to find anything Max will sit through. He's 2.5 and he will sit and watch a YouTube playlist of like 3-minute videos just back to back to back for like an hour and not move. But then I was like, let's watch Toy Story.
Yeah.
After 10 minutes, he's just up throwing stuff against the wall again. It's just like,
just that attention span is not there yet.
It's not there unless it constantly is changing. Like the longest thing he'll consistently sit through is Olaf's Frozen Adventure, which is like a 22-minute Frozen short.
Yeah.
Which I've seen about 150 times now. But but yeah, watching Toy Story, I put Toy Story on not too long ago, and it's like those people look creepy.
They do.
Like the humans look terrifying. Sid is a frightening character who looks terrifying. Like just those dead eyes.
Yep. But I thought the toys still looked okay, given the time they were made in. I think when you're not trying to replicate people.
Exactly. It works. That's why it was like toys, ants, fish, monsters, robots. Like,
yeah.
And then by the time they got to Incredibles, it's like, all right, we can do this cartoon human thing well enough. It works. But yeah, like the Toy Story people they're creepy.
Yeah. No, they're horrifying. Nightmare fuel.
For sure. Especially like Sid, that kid is some scary shit.
Yeah. It is scary shit. But I'm excited to see what one thing I give Warner Brothers and DC a lot of credit for is the animated movies that they come out with and the quality of it. And I know it kind of probably feels like I'm kind of really bashing it, but I mean, I'm very grateful because, you know, I feel like having kind of been disappointed with some of the other DC productions, like at least I could kind of rely on the animated stuff. And now they're doing what came with the Long Halloween part 2 was a preview of their next animated movie, which is Injustice.
They haven't made that? I could have sworn
I mean, maybe they did, but it's another one.
Okay.
I
just reread the first like 10 issues of that recently.
I've heard the comics are actually really good.
I wouldn't say really good, but I would say it's a fun read.
Okay.
I think so. I think Injustice originally was released digitally only, and each issue has a different artist, I think.
Or your favorite.
Yeah. I love that inconsistent art. But it didn't bug me as much with this because I knew it was like, I mean, it was like a video game tie-in. It was like the only released, and it gets weird eventually because there's like 7 Injustice volumes or something. But it's not a terrible story, and I think maybe I'm just I'm sick of the evil Superman trope. But honestly, so in Injustice Volume 1 anyway, he's not evil. It's more like, what if Superman was driven, I wouldn't say insane, but he's just like, you know what? I'm just going to make the world a better place by doing everything. So it's
like with or without the world's permission.
Exactly. It gets a little, I don't want to say like fascist, but it's like, I don't know what other word for it. Like,
sorry, I thought it was funny. I don't want to say fascist.
It gets fascist there eventually by like volume 3. It's just like fascist dictator Superman, but it's like he still wants to do the right thing, and like, I don't know. Injustice, it's a cool storyline. I think people should read it if they haven't.
I just feel like they should have let Zack Snyder make that movie, because if he just made an Injustice movie, I probably would have a very different feeling towards it.
The end of it or whatever, the little teaser thingy was very much an Injustice thing.
Yeah,
the evil Superman, but yeah, I mean, I'll check out an Injustice movie. I'm happy they just keep releasing these animated things, and if some are great, sweet. If some suck, keep trying.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I always thought that they should have done like like if they had done like a big budget animated movie series released in theaters. Like I think that would have been kind of a cool.
I was hoping the success of Into the Spider-Verse would kind of, you know, liven up that possibility for comic book things.
Oh my god, can you imagine if there was like a series of Justice League movies like that, or like The Flash, like Green Lantern, like in that style? Dude, I would be first in line for that.
I'm not even mean like that. That style is so specific.
But well, I'm sorry, not that. You know what I mean? Like kind of like a
within that movie. Yeah, it's
right. Like I think where it's not quite, not the
they were given a full movie's budget.
Yes,
to make a movie.
Yeah,
it would have.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, not Into the Spider-Verse starring the Flash. Just that budget.
Of course, yeah. And like, it's just so weird to me. It's like they're clearly marketing things to everybody at this point, but like DC movies skew older. Like I'm not bringing my like 6-year-old to watch Zack Snyder's The Justice League. Like they would fall asleep, they'd be scared, they'd be like, why is that woman sniffing that sweater? But like if there's a colorful, exciting animated like the Flash movie, like every kid in the world would want to watch that. Like
hell, even an Aquaman animated movie.
Yeah. I guess they did make Teen Titans Go. That was theatrical, right?
Oh yeah, the go to the movies.
Yeah. But I feel like that wasn't like it wasn't like a $200 million blockbuster. They like put it out in theaters for like 2 weeks. It was like they didn't market it like crazy. I feel like you just, I don't know.
Yeah, and it's almost it's kind of meta too because they're commenting about the the comic book film industry and.
But like, there's people out there like whether they work for any of like the big animation companies like Illumination, Disney, Pixar, whatever Lord and Miller work for, like they made a Batman movie, but I want like a Batman movie or like I don't know.
Yeah.
I want high budget animation or this animation but a little tighter.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they could have just combined this and just edited it, made it a little brisker. Yeah, sure, you'd leave some stuff out of the comic book. You always leave stuff out. I mean, you can't adapt everything perfectly unless it's like a TV show.
Right.
What they could have done? They could have done like a Long Halloween miniseries on HBO Max or something.
That would have been cool. Each week a new episode or something.
Each week a new season. They should have. So,
speaking of which, each week a new season.
Well, like a season weather-wise.
Oh, okay. I'm about to say
a new holiday. I guess that's it.
Got it.
There's actually a show on HBO Max called Starstruck. It's about like a girl meets like an actor and they have like this on and off relationship, and each episode is a different season. Like it's like summer, fall, winter.
Oh, that's cool.
And, it's a funny show. People check it out. But
Starstruck.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
It's like 20-minute episodes. It's great.
Excellent. Well, always looking for things to watch. And are we at that time now? Are we talking about what
we're at that?
Okay, sorry, because my concept of how long we've been doing this has been ruined.
Oh, I have no idea. This will probably be actually, it's going to be a normal length episode. So
okay, well that's good. Yeah, because I was actually trying to think of what I've been watching, or reading, or doing apart from the Long Halloween.
The one thing I'll talk about. So I rewatched Men in Black this week.
Oh, cool.
Because why not?
Yeah.
So Men in Black is a movie that I love, but I don't think about how much I love it until it's like brought to my attention. And I'm like, oh, I love Men in Black.
Yeah.
And I remember there's a website called like, what's it called?
Google.
No, it's like Flick Chart, I think. It puts two movies in front of you and you click on which one you like better. Or you say you haven't seen it. And I remember just like there was times where I would be like working and for like 6 hours straight, I would just be like clicking on movie posters, and it gives you like a ranking based off of that, like what your favorite like movies that you. And eventually, if you've clicked through like 2,000 movies and compare all these movies together, you get a fairly accurate list of things. Like Jaws was number one always, and I was like, hey, that's true. That is my favorite movie.
Yeah.
But Men in Black was like 3 on that list.
Oh, wow.
And like every time it would come up against another movie, I'm like, I like Men in Black more than this. And rewatching it, Men in Black is such a goddamn good movie. Like,
this is making me want to watch it because I can't remember the last time I saw Men in Black.
It holds up incredibly well. Like the special effects, there is CG, but there's also a lot of like puppeteering and stuff like that. So it
in camera,
in camera stuff. Speaking of, like, the camera work is like super creative. I mean, Barry Sonnenfeld was like a cinematographer, so he very much has like a visual style. It's very much like Ghostbusters, where it's a like comedy, but there's no jokes. Like the comedy just happens because something funny happens, but it's not like a punchline.
Right.
Yeah, like Tommy Lee Jones just being like
a curmudgeon.
He's being Tommy Lee Jones in a ridiculous situation, which on its own is funny.
Yeah.
Will Smith at the peak of his power. Rip Torn being ridiculous. Just like Vincent D'Onofrio should have won an Oscar for that performance.
As the Edgar suit.
Like, God, Men in Black is so good. And anybody who hasn't watched Men in Black in a while, you just watch it.
Man, I'll have to check that. I'll have to check that out again. I'll check out that website too, because I want to.
Flickchart. It's fun. It's a good way to pass the time. It's like a very passive way to just like, if you're like feeling fidgety, you just click. And yeah. So also related to Men in Black, I actually, like, at the beginning, it always pops up. It's like based on a Marvel comic, Men in Black, and I know it's not actually a Marvel comic. It was like released through Malibu in the early '90s, and then when Marvel bought Malibu, it became a Marvel comic. So I went and I read the first issue of Men in Black. And it is very much like a late 80s, early 90s, like indie comic. It's black and white, very like gritty and ridiculous, and way different vibe than the movie. Like, it's more like X-Files meets like Dirty Harry or something. Like,
oh boy.
A lot of the elements are there that they take for the movie, but I definitely think the direction they took the movie in, I'm glad they went with that, because it's not as fun as the movie is.
Got it. Now, did you say it was Lick Chart? Flick. Okay. Yeah, because Lick Chart, something else. Good to know.
I still bookmarked it, but it's something else.
It's like Lick Chart. Like, oh God, where did Rob take me? I'm gonna check that out. But yeah, I remember hearing Men in Black was based on an actual comic book.
It's kind of like how like The Mask with Jim Carrey is based off of a comic book.
Yeah.
A comic book. I've always wanted to read it just because
it's crazy.
It's ridiculous, over the top, and gory and shit. And that's always been like such a wild thought to me, because again, there's like, let's just make this into like the lowest common denominator, like comedy.
Yeah. It would be kind of interesting to see them do like a comic book accurate version of The Mask, except I don't know. Stanley Ipkiss in the comic is like kind of an asshole, and he dies like pretty early on, and it's like, okay, so I think somebody saw the potential of this story and made it. Like, I'd be okay with, like, you know, a guy down on his luck finds a mask, gets powers, whatever, but does it in a more, I don't know. I mean, even the original Mask itself was kind of violent. I mean, doesn't he like shove like a fucking pipe up like garage people's butts or something?
Yeah, it's there's definitely some violence in the first one, but
it'd be fun to like do a series of like reviewing movies that you didn't know were based on comic books.
Exactly. Or like, because back in the 90s there was like a fair amount of them, but they were like wildly different from the comic books. Like,
oh yeah,
I think
Mystery Men, Judge Dredd, Tank Girl,
Road to Perdition.
That yeah. God, I remember watching that in one of Monica's classes.
Have I seen? I have never seen or read Road to Perdition.
Road to Perdition, I think you would like it. It's, you know, period piece, gangster movie. Daniel Craig is in it, Tom Hanks. And it's also directed by Sam Mendes, who did Skyfall and American Beauty. So, and it's a beautiful looking movie. And
yeah, I've seen stills and like it does look very nice. So I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely add that onto your list there. But yeah, because it's a beautiful movie with a dark subject matter, but yeah, no, it's really good. I'm trying to think, what the hell have I been doing? I don't even know anymore. Time bleeds together. Like, I feel like I was just talking to you yesterday. It was like, oh, I'm free to record tonight. Like, didn't I just talk to you? Didn't we just do an episode?
Yeah, time is a flat circle.
Yes. Oh, not at all comic book related, but I was pretty excited. I think you all know about my undying love for the Foo Fighters. They released a surprise album recently, and it's a cover of Bee Gees songs, and it's really good. When I told Ange about it, you know, because Angela loves the Bee Gees, she loves disco, but it got our seal of approval because I played the music video for You Should Be Dancing, and got an A. And it's like only like 5 covers, and then like the rest is like kind of like their live stuff. But yeah, it's pretty good because they really keep the disco in it. So
That's
they don't
cool.
try to
check that out.
Yeah, they don't do like a rock version. Like they definitely, like, he is hitting the BG high notes, still got that funk. It's just a little more guitar. But it's good though. I mean, I like it. But then again, Dave Grohl could scream into an empty trash can, and I would think it's genius. So I don't know. May not be the right person to, you know, kind of get the review from. But it's fun though, and if it's a fun talking point for your parents if your parents grew up in the disco era. But yeah, I'm like, I know that like as soon as we get off recording this, I'm gonna remember what I've been reading. Messiah Complex. Wait, did I talk about Messiah Complex? I don't remember.
Like I touched on a few weeks here and there.
Yeah, because I'm still on my journey to read all the X-Men stuff. But yeah, I read Messiah Complex, and now kind of getting into the Utopia era of comics. And it's interesting to read, with you know, not having to wait a month in between issues. And yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to like shed some more light on this later on when I kind of have more developed thoughts. But I feel like the early 2000s was like the year of character assassinations for like Xavier, Cyclops, Iron Man. Like just not awesome things happening for the characters that I love.
Yeah, they're just like, we gotta change everything. Let's
make everybody a fucking dick.
Yeah, that's because that's all they did. They just made everybody assholes.
Right. It was like, oh, Xavier's gonna like, he's gonna like, I don't know, hide the not only the death of Scott Summers' brother, but his very existence. It's like, why? Even rereading Deadly Genesis, like, I still don't get it. Like, why would you do that?
Yeah, there's so much like nonsense has happened that I don't even, it's like hard to, even as a comic book nerd, like a deep X-Men nerd,
yeah,
I barely remember like a lot of stuff from like 2000, basically from the end of like the new X-Men era to today. Like there's just a lot of blurry spots in there.
Yeah, and it's just, I feel like it was just stuff for this. I feel like it was like they were on a Marvel retreat and they were like, oh, would it be cool if like Scott kicked Xavier out of the Institute and like he became like the top dog in the X-Men.
Mm-hmm.
But I think because, you know, I heard Chris Claremont in an interview actually with Killer Mike of all people, but he was kind of saying about how, you know, Xavier was kind of a challenge to write because he was kind of perfect.
Yeah.
And so I feel like it was, I feel like they just had to invent a situation to make Xavier look like a prick. You know, I don't know. It just felt, and it's written by Ed Brubaker, and I love Ed Brubaker. He, as far as I'm concerned, he gave us the best Captain America run, but they're not all home runs. Because so I don't know, and I'm like kind of like not having fun reading this line of X-Men stuff because I know what's coming. I know A versus X is coming, and
that was so dumb.
Yeah, but for the most part, Messiah Complex was fun. You know, it was like the first mutant born. Everyone's trying to get a hold of it. But one cool thing though is that I got my Marvel Unlimited box that I get every year when my subscription renews. I got a pretty cool Scotty Young pin. It looks like it's a little Iron Man guy.
Oh, look at that guy.
Yeah, and again, this year's theme was Iron Man, so I got a Stark Unlimited patch, which is cool. And my favorite, because I love Marvel Legends, each box comes with a Marvel Legend, and it's Kamala Khan, rocking a Spider-Man costume. I don't know why. It's from a comic or something.
She should.
Yeah, but I don't care because it's cool and she's cool, and make for interesting Halloween decoration. Like, oh yeah, it's her going out as Spider-Man on Halloween. Oh, they did release Marvel Legends released one of the next waves coming up, and it's What If. Well, it's actually technically like a Disney Plus Wave 2, but a majority of the characters are What If. And Captain Carter, that's happening. I'm getting that figure. And Zombie Captain America.
Ooh.
Which looks great.
I'm curious about the Marvel Zombies episode.
I am too. I just see Bucky fighting Zombie Cap and I'm sold.
Like, I wonder how much they're going to take from the comics and how much they're going to just run with whatever they knew. Because I always loved kind of the origin of Marvel Zombies. It was like an Ultimate Fantastic Four run where like the zombie Reed Richards brings him over there, and then Magneto is like the only one who's not a zombie, and I was like, this is cool. And then
and that was like, it was like right around that time too, where like zombies were kind of having a resurgence because you had The Walking Dead, and
they got Kirkman to write the first volume of Marvel Zombies.
Yeah,
I think it was Mark Miller or somebody. It's one of the Ultimate Universe like originators that wrote the Fantastic Four run.
But you still reading those? I think the last time I talked to you, you were saying that you had read like Ultimates.
So I basically caught myself up in the Ultimate Universe up until Ultimatum, and then I was like, I'm going to stop here.
You got to read stuff afterwards, though. By Mark Miller.
I have read a lot of the stuff.
Oh, okay.
It was more like a reread of a lot of the stuff.
Yeah.
The
Ghost Rider stuff is good.
There's a lot of really cool stuff that comes out after, but it's not like when you just read like this pre-Ultimate, it's so good. It holds up still. So many cool ideas. I think I'm just gonna go back and reread Ultimate X-Men and Ultimate Spider-Man maybe.
Dude,
both
so
Spider-Man
good.
is just like hundreds of issues of just like fantastic.
It's so true.
Like, up and down, but
yeah, I mean, Ultimate Spider-Man was good. I mean, I remember reading that in high school and being like, oh man, it's like so, like, it tugged on my heartstrings. And like, I read it now and it's like, it doesn't tug on my heartstrings because I'm not 14 anymore. Mm-hmm. But that it tugs at the nostalgia. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember, where you're like pining over like the first girlfriend you ever had. Like, I feel like it locks into that really well. Like that angst. Like, oh man, Aunt May will let Mary Jane come over. What a bitch. It's like, oh yeah, I remember those days. It's good times.
It was good times.
But as always, if you're listening, definitely drop us some love on iTunes. Give us some stars so we can get some love on the algorithm. I know we'd greatly appreciate it. So keep listening, keep tuning in, and as always, have fun cruising through the multiverse.